We're about to take a look at 7 inexpensive tools that you need to try. You guys, I have kept the integrity of this list solid because if you know anything about the channel, you know that we love quality tools, and even these 7 inexpensive tools do not break that rule. They just carry their weight in gold when it comes to price and the functionality of what it does. So we'll start from the very beginning at the cheapest and we'll end at the most expensive. All of these cap out at $30, so that is the most expensive tool on the list. But it costs pennies more to go first class, as they say, and this list is no different. You get the most bang from your buck from these items. A lot of them are even smaller and lighter items as well, which I find extremely useful in my setup so it doesn't become extremely heavy and I don't have to carry around 1,000,000 pounds worth of weight. And speaking of quality, our sponsor for today is Extra Wallet. So whether you like a traditional or a more traditional, I'll say, leather wallet or an aluminum thin wallet, you guys, these are some of the coolest wallets I've ever seen. This one here is the oil slick version, and you can see when you press this little button down here, all of your cards pop up. It's super easy to grab. It looks great. It's thin. There's a little ring on the outside, as well as the leather wallet if you're more traditional like myself here. And it's leather. It opens up and it has some storage capabilities in there. But when you press the little tab, all of your cards pop up. When I switched over to these type of wallets, you guys, I will never go back. There's a bunch of different colors, bunch of different variations, and you can get a discount code using code Electrician or by clicking on the link in the description. So check them out if you are looking for a super cool wallet that you didn't know you needed, but you definitely need. Number 1 on the list. This is going to be the most random thing ever, but this little guy here is a rasp, and basically it's got a file on the end of it here. And this little guy right here has saved my butt so many times. It has absolutely saved me on some little mistakes that I've made. It helps so much with fabrication, especially for metal fabrication, because there's no way to take off just a little sliver of metal without either putting in the most extreme amount of work ever with hand tools. Sawzalls don't work. Drills can work. You just have to have the right attachment. And this is really what that attachment is. Now, I will tell on myself here that I was running some 4-inch IMC once upon a time in my early years, and I was a little bit off on a measurement. And you guys know that IMC is not forgiving and 4-inch isn't forgiving. So neither of that was insanely forgiving. And so what I did was I had to edge out just a little, like I'm talking like a hair more of a box, just so I could get that to fit in and not have to move everything. And it took a 4-hour mistake into like a 20-minute mistake of a little bit of fabrication. Nothing that ruined the integrity of the panel that was going into. For $4 to be able to keep this thing in there and not have to bring in a grinder or whatever you have to bring in. Obviously, it works for plastics as well. Obviously, it's great for things, especially when you're adding on to old equipment, because not everything was meant to fit together like it is in the drawings. It doesn't always work out that way. If you guys know, if you've been in the field for a while, you know there's some fabrication that happens from time to time. And this thing right here is the king of helping fabricate difficult things or to remove some just ever so slightly, just a little bit of metal so something can fit on, slide in, whatever it may be. This thing here will save you so much time. Number 2, you guys have seen this on the channel. If you've seen the channel at all, this is the Fiskers utility knife. I actually did a full video comparing all of the utility knives that I could possibly get, all of the top tier utility knives. So you guys, I'm going to leave a link to that at the end. If you haven't seen that, you're going to want to. I will ruin it a little bit. This thing came out pretty far ahead in most categories, especially the workhorse categories. It opens incredibly smooth. It's all metal except for this orange here is a rubber, so it's extremely ergonomic. It's a little bit larger. The design is just impeccable. Okay, there is really so much thought that went into this. It's a lot more round. It's a little bit heavier than most utility knives this size. The blade change is super easy. You just have to pop this little metal thing over here and it pops out super nice and easy. And boom, fits right back in, especially if you're not trying to make sure that it's in the frame when you're recording. Things always end up funny when you're trying to record. That's part of it. That's the nature of what I do here, I guess. I've been using this one for a long time, and I have like 5 of them now. They just lay everywhere, so I always have one. But definitely worth the money. Like I said, this one goes up a little bit in price. Pretty normal for a utility knife. It's not overly expensive, but wow, when it comes to the utility of it, it is absolutely first class utility, first class comfort, all of the above. This is the utility knife of utility knives for me, especially opening and closing. I need that, especially for what I do. That's what I prefer. The action on it's great. It's fun. Coming in at number 3, we have the Wera screw grabbers. Now, these little things here are so unique and so awesome. Now, a little trick. The yellow is for larger shafted screwdrivers, and the red is for smaller shafted screwdrivers. So if we take this Wera driver here, we can put it on. Just slides right over. Nice and snug. You can see, obviously, it pushes up, and it'll allow you to get the head of a screw in here, so we'll do that now. Boom. And then we can just pull it down until it's tight. Now, the magical thing that happens with this thing has gotten me out of so many pinches, and it saved my butt, saved me from a lot of frustration more times than one. Now, what happens is when you screw this in, those outside things that hold the screw on, they slowly pop off, and then obviously you would be threaded in at that point, and this would be pushing against the wall of whatever it is that you're screwing this into. That means that you can just pull it down after that, and you can keep it on your screwdriver, or you can take it off. It doesn't matter, but it keeps hard to reach screws from getting out of hand, from losing them. And for the price of under $20, just above $10, that's hard to beat, especially for the functionality of it. Just being able to go on and off. I really love that you don't have to remove it. I do have some specialty screwdrivers, I believe from Klein, that have a built-in mechanism. It's just frustrating when you have to take it off in order to finish screwing in your screw. That part of it is not fun. And then you have to have it for every type of screw that you want. So if it's a flathead or Phillips or whatever it is, you have to have all of those different ones. Instead, you can have 2 of these little guys here. They are incredibly light, incredibly easy to just hide away somewhere until you need them. And then go on any screwdriver that you carry. They can go on any drill bit that you carry. They can go on anything that has a shaft. All of these are going to have links in the description. So if you want to look at any of these for the exact model, the exact thing, go head down there. It'll be super easy to find, I promise. And the next one on our list is the Racketeer stud ball. This thing here is so easy to find studs with. Basically, it's a magnetic ball on this rubber leash here, and you get to drag it on the wall to find out where the screws are that hold up the drywall. No matter what kind of building you're in, residential, commercial, whether it's wood studs, metal studs, whatever it is, metal screws or metal nails are what is holding up your drywall. This thing here is so small, it just tucks away. It's not practical for me to keep a stud finder in my tool bag all the time, but it is so practical for me to keep this. And it has dual usages because it's a super strong magnet, so you can come up with whatever thing you want to do with it. Sometimes I've tied a string to it to pick something up that I dropped. But whatever it is that you want to use this for, finding studs is incredibly easy with this thing. The magnet is so strong. It is absurd. Obviously, that's not a very clean surface. Like that screwdriver tip there is not like on there well. It doesn't have a bunch of surface area to grab. Still does it. Through all the drywall you want, it will find a nail or a screw. I promise you that. Next up, we have the Knipex dismantling tool. This thing here, I sing this thing's praises all the time because it is a phenomenal tool. Now, I'll go over the rundown of how it works. You push this up, you put your wire in there, and it's got a little blade in there that spins around to take off the outside sheathing. This thing is incredibly light, and it makes stripping cables extremely easy. Now, whether that's large cables or whether those are something like SO cord, it makes that incredibly fast, incredibly efficient, and safe. I always see people getting cut using utility knives. I still use utility knives sometimes, but hardly ever anymore now that I keep this thing in my bag because it's super light. It was super cheap. And now, especially for SO cord's incredibly difficult to strip with a utility knife. Probably not incredibly, but it's annoying. So if you have like 100 lights to do and you have 100 SO whips, when you have this thing, it makes your day go by so much faster and easier. You can customize the height of the blade with this little black dial down here, so you can move it up or down. So if there's different thicknesses of the outside insulation, you can strip it off. You put it on there to your desired length, you spin it around a couple times, and then from there you just pull it off, and voila. Like, it is incredibly fast, efficient, and easy. This is one of the biggest bangs for your buck that you can get. This thing, I don't know why more people don't use them. And I'll say there are nicer versions out there of this, which I have used. They come from a bunch of different brands. This one is my favorite, though. It's not expensive either, and the other ones are a little bit more on the expensive side. But this one seems to have lasted a long time, and it's been good to me so far. I have zero complaints about that whatsoever. Next up, we're looking at a very niche pair of pliers. These are for all of those electricians out there. These are plastic pliers from Knipex. You guys, these things will get you out of a pinch. I mean, wow, they are incredibly useful for live work. They're incredibly useful for retrofitting and all that other stuff, service calls. When you have a box full of wires and you don't know what's what, and they're having a shortage, they're having issues, it's really difficult to stick a metal pair of pliers in there and grab it. You're definitely not sticking your hand in there. These things help make sure that you're not shorting something out in front of your customers. Just an extra layer of protection, because even for insulated pliers, the metal is still conductive, which is typically what shorts out is the metal head, because if you grab a live wire and you touch something to the metal box or the panel or another wire, whatever it is, it'll short it out. So these things here, for the price, wow, super easy, under $30. The red is a hard plastic. The yellow is a softer rubber. And on the end here, it's all smooth all the way until the end, and then there are some teeth in there for you to be able to actually get some traction and grab onto whatever wire you're trying to manipulate or do. They also have a similar style with a little bit of a actual jaw. But last but not least, this one is my favorite. I don't understand. It makes me so irritated when people use things that are so much lower quality for so much more money, and it's Wera screwdrivers, you guys. I cannot rave about Wera screwdrivers enough. They are the best fitting, the best working screwdrivers that I have ever used, and they're incredibly inexpensive. You can get the non-insulated set for under $30, and you can get the insulated set for just over $30, which makes it incredibly affordable to get an entire set of screwdrivers with the best fit, the best feel. They also last you for a long time. They have these little lines on the screws here that make it incredibly effective to grab screws. I thought that it was gimmicky when I first started. When I saw it, I was like, that's so dumb. Just give me, whatever. It works. I got to find that screw. So we have this flathead screw, right? Not a lot of grip. It's not even a Phillips. It's a flathead. It's slightly magnetized, okay? So it will hold onto the screw, right? But we'll go ahead and slide this in here now, right? So it's in there. And I'm going to apply just a little bit of pressure. And I'm pushing down a pretty significant amount. I am telling you guys, these screwdrivers hold screws better than any other brand that I've found. Wera is seriously, they're so far ahead most companies with this stuff, with the laser engraved tips that are on all of them except for their squares, and their squares have also a great fit in the screws. They're also extremely ergonomic. This design here, we don't see a lot of this in America. We see a lot overseas, but this grip here, it's more like it fits your hand well, but they fit great and they're extremely ergonomic. The green here, or whatever color that color is on your style of screwdriver, because the colors will vary depending on the style. The red and yellow are the insulated. They're VDE 1000 volt rated. Now, the green is a rubber. It's a little bit softer and it gives you some texture to grab onto. It's not just a hard plastic screwdriver. That is something that I have come to love. Honestly, just everything about it. It's also not incredibly large, so you can really get a good grip on it. You can feel like you have full control over the screwdriver. It's not getting out of your hand by any means. And they also have an extremely wide variety of screwdrivers that are affordable. So that means that if you're like me and you like everything to match and you want your regular drivers to match your beater, they have beaters too, which is also included in this list because it's also extremely inexpensive. This is my beater, and it's got a metal cap on the end. Obviously, it's from Wera. You can see the red and black. That is their quote-unquote chisel driver style. This thing has not ever bent or broken. It has been absolutely abused. It's got a shank here for you to put some extra torque on there if you want to for stuff like this. But wow, this thing is an absolute beast of a screwdriver. You guys, if you haven't tried Wera, it is so worth the try. I promise you won't regret it. I am always blown away at people who spend all this money on stuff like Klein screwdrivers, and the quality of it isn't just nearly as good as what these Wera screwdrivers are. And everybody thinks they're incredibly expensive when in reality, they're one of the cheaper on the market, but you get so much out of your money. Like I said, all of these, they keep their integrity, right? All of them, they still are quality items. All of these are things that I do actually use every single day. I'm not just a Harbor Freight type of guy where I'm like, let me just throw this money away, because I really do believe when you invest in your tools that they work, and they work better, and they last longer, and they're just more efficient. And honestly, that makes your day easier, makes your life easier, because nobody likes being frustrated at work because your stupid screwdriver broke, or because you didn't have the right tool, or because you sat there stripping 100 things of SO cord with a utility knife when something like this exists for like under $20. It is amazing to me that people will go through that stuff in the name of being like, well, my company should pay for it, when in reality, it's your life that's going to be affected if you just buy the right stuff. So as promised, if you want to see all the details about this wonderful utility knife here, head up to this video. Remember, you guys, it's all for his glory, and I'll see you guys on the next one.